Okay, part 2 of Matthew 27. Where did we even end off? We got a little derailed.
He threw the silver and then...
Okay, so the priests...
Awake, welcome back.
Hi, welcome back. We only have 20 minutes, so... And I realized on previous episodes, I'd spend too much time at the beginning, like I am right now. We need to jump into it. Okay, anyway. Jesus is talking to Pilate, and Pilate's saying, do you hear all this? And we talked about Pilate saying, who should I release to the crowds? Because Pilate isn't really convinced of him being guilty, right?
Right.
He's just kind of like... And that was established in previous interactions between Pilate and the elders. But Pilate's wife tells Pilate here, don't have anything to do with that innocent man, for I have suffered a great deal today in a dream because of him.
Yeah. Jews really believed in dreams as a form of revelation. And she was dreaming. And so she told her husband, let this guy go.
Is that... Okay. Yeah, I didn't fully read it like that at first. Like, don't have anything to do with him. Kind of felt like he's bad. Like, don't... But she says, with that innocent man.
Yeah. I think it means because of his innocence, if you have anything to do with his death, we are going to be haunted. Yeah.
She's like, don't touch.
Yeah. No touch this one.
Okay.
That's what I call my Italian. A Hebrew Italian. No touch of this one. Italian, it's called.
Okay. The priests and elders persuade the crowd to choose Okay.
It's so fun. My whole life.
He's never had the chance to do it back to somebody. God, you really went hard on that.
Hey man, when I see a place to dominate, I'm going to do it with my daughters. They do it to me.
We do it
constantly.
to them. Yeah.
I make verbal mistakes and they love it.
It's 1 on 4 usually.
So we have Delaney barking over here. Bah, 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 bah. She gets to see what it's like.
Barabbas.
Yeah.
That cannot be how it's said to them. I don't like it.
What?
Barabbas.
Okay.
What should be said?
I think it's Barabbas.
Anyway.
So we're talking about Barabbas.
Barabbas. I prefer it. The crowd tells them to choose. The crowd tells Pilate to choose Barabbas.
Yeah. That's how bad they were.
Wow.
See, Barabbas was an insurrectionist, which means he was leading a revolt, and and so the Romans were putting him to death.
Oh.
Yeah, and it is believed that he was part of a 3-partied leaders, and 2 of them were going to hang on each side of Jesus.
Oh.
And the place where Jesus was hanging was the one that Barabbas was supposed to have.
Oh.
Yeah, so Pilate thought, there's no way they're going to say, release Barabbas. This guy's innocent. Let's hold this guy. He's a murderous insurrection. He committed murder in the violent act of uprising.
Wow.
We learned that from the other things. So he says, who do you want? And it's funny, in Mel Gibson's movie, he has Barabbas be this growling monster.
Really? Oh, thank you for that picture.
And then Jesus is like there all beaten and stuff, and they pick Barabbas.
Wow. That is so gnarly.
Yeah, it's showing how hard their hearts were.
But, so is Barabbas Jewish?
Yeah.
Like, everyone is basically Jewish.
Unless it says otherwise, typically, yeah.
Okay.
But they'll identify in Scripture who is not a Jew. They'll call them a Gentile or a Greek.
And Pilate, I'm realizing I don't know. Was he Jewish?
Pilate was a Jew, I believe, that was more in harmony with the Roman Empire.
Yeah.
So he was like a Jew from the Roman Empire. I might have that wrong, mixing him up with the Herods.
Yeah.
And he could have been just a Roman procurator who was governing over that area. But I believe something about Pontius Pilate was he was a Jew.
Okay.
Could be wrong on that.
Okay. It just, yeah. Okay. So these people, I kind of ask because like the people who are kind of voting and Pilate all have some stake in like Jesus's doings.
Yeah.
And
Barabbas.
Oh my gosh, Barabbas's doings.
Yeah.
Like, even though Barabbas's issues were secular,
Yeah.
and Jesus is being accused of religious issues.
Yeah. His religious issues were, to the Roman ear, the Jews were saying he was an insurrectionist. They were saying he said, we're going to tear down the temple. They were saying, he's saying, don't pay tribute. They were lying about what he was teaching. But to a Jewish ear, they wanted him dead because they thought he had blasphemed.
Right.
And he was making himself God.
Okay. All right. So Romans had as much against Jesus.
If the charges the Jews were bringing to the Romans were true, yes. But Pilate is seeing none of these charges are true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's not a danger to us, is what Pilate's saying. I represent Rome.
Yeah.
He is not a danger to us. He's not. He's innocent.
He's not even trying to
Yeah,
be
he's
the
not
king.
That's
like
why he said, "Are you a king?"
Yeah.
And in John, when Pilate asked him, "Are you a king?" he says, "Yes, I am." And he says, "For this purpose I have been born into this world." But then he adds in John, not here, "My kingdom's not of this world." So automatically Pilate says, okay, then what's the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah. He says, for if my kingdom was of this world, my servants would fight, right? So that's why I stand against Christians fighting against the world.
Yeah.
Jesus said it.
Yeah.
We don't care. We still think we need to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That was a good explanation. Thank you. And just to mention, Pilate tried a couple times. He said, what crime has he committed? Let me find my place. Yeah, and they all just say, what should I do then? They all say, crucify him. They shouted louder, crucify him. Is it important to the tale somehow that Pilate was on Jesus's side?
I think it was important to the tale because Pilate sort of represents a judicial assessment of Jesus as not being worthy of death.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then insane that Pilate says, I'm innocent of this, it's your responsibility. And they say his blood is on us and our children. Does that mean anything to Judaism today?
To them, no, but to many people, they'll say they curse their whole nation.
Wow.
And that is the reason why we have pogroms in Russia and Holocaust. Let the blood of him be on us and our children. And so it's believed that they took upon themselves the blood of God.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's the way. And so people who are like anti-Semitic, who hate Jews, they're so stupid. They'll take it and say, you took Jesus' blood on yourselves and you're evil and stuff. Remember, there's a nation of Jews and there's a religion of Jews.
Okay.
The nation of Jews are wonderful, beautiful people. The religion of Jews in that day was absolutely horrible. We don't judge Jews by the nation of that day being absolutely horrible. We judge Jews as a nation. Yeah, and they're great people, right? So it's not anti-Semitic to point out that the forefathers of their religious institution were horrible, but we have to extract between them and a Jew today. It's just like anything. I can't help what my fathers did. And so that kind of brings in all that thinking.
It's really convoluted because people, especially right now with all this stuff, like, it really makes no sense to me that people that are Jewish by inheritance, that are clearly not practicing anything religious, call it anti-Semitic to be, and that does not seem correct.
No.
Like, there is there still a nation in religion distinction, I guess is what I'm asking. Still, or was that for that time? To them.
To them, there is definitely a nation religious difference.
Right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But to Christians.
There shouldn't be any to a Christian.
Because there shouldn't be Judaism really at all.
Judaism can't exist the way the
Okay.
history destroyed it.
Okay. And so then this confuses me, but so then there's like this sort of anti-Semitic flavor of Christianity, and there's a pro-Jewish flavor of Christianity.
Yes.
And so the anti-Semitic one comes from what you just said, where they
Mm-hmm.
sort of feel like they've been cursed.
Mm-hmm.
And they have all this stuff happening to them because they deserve it.
Yeah.
Because they didn't accept.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the pro-Jewish?
The pro-Jewish view. Okay, so and let me just put it in our terms. The sorry, I'm not saying
this is reductive.
I'm not saying he is,
yeah.
but the they killed Christ mentality is kind of captured in Mel Gibson's stuff that he'll say publicly.
Okay.
They're Jews. They know.
Okay.
Okay, that's the anti-Semitic. The pro-Semitic side is all based in eschatology.
Okay.
Because Christians believe that Jesus is coming back to take his bride, and where's he coming back to? Israel. And he's going to come on the Mount of Olives.
Okay.
So we need to make sure Israel is honored as God's chosen people and is still his people, and Jesus is coming back to his bride. And so in 1948, futurists who believe Jesus is coming back, Christians, help establish Israel as a nation again. 1948.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's called Zionism. And so that's why our political system on the right-wing conservative side in America is pro-Israel.
Yeah.
And we give her funding and we support her because it's all based on, and Christians support that because it's all based on the idea that Jesus is coming back to that.
Right.
When you strip that out.
Hold on, though.
Yeah.
Why do they think that the bride that Jesus is coming back for is Jewish? Because don't they think that, don't Calvinists or everything that they're the bride that they have to be perfect for, and that's what
They do,
Christianity
but they have a
is.
lingering forefather called the Jews that they still pay honor to.
Because they're mixed in with the bride.
Yeah, and they were always God's chosen. God doesn't change that. And we are adopted into that family as Christian non-Jews, but they still are. And they keep that alive in and through futurism and Zionism. And that's why preterism is so difficult, because when you say it's fulfilled, and then Paul says there's no difference between Jew and Gentile in Christ, you get rid of that. And that shakes the very foundations of support for Israel.
And it's read as anti-Semitic.
Oh, yeah.
I get why now preterism is read as anti-Semitic.
Oh, so big.
Okay.
Yeah. And so and when you have conversations about it, it's easy to hear anti-Semitic tones. But people have to know that you're talking about the religious segment of that day. You're not talking about a Jew from the nation. You see the difference?
Yes.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Christians believe exactly the same thing. It's just that it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Like you're coming from the same place.
Yeah.
Like they think that will eventually
That's
happen
right.
to
They'll
the
think
Jews.
eventually.
So
yeah.
if it's like it's as anti-Semitic as okay, like you still uphold Judaism as the promised people, or like it's not like you're but we're beyond it now.
And where I was trained, Calvary Chapel, that Chuck Smith was so pro-Israel that he constantly pushed a futurist eschatology. And so if you go to a Calvary Chapel today, you're going to hear all of that. And if you went to a Calvary Chapel today after the bombing, it would be like, oh my gosh, they're torching God's people. Those people are not God's people at all. Yeah.
So because they're the nation.
The nation. They're not the religious segment, though they pretend to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So say we are futurist, what, I don't really want to talk about this much more because it's so
It's a big
hot right
subject,
now
yeah.
and it's big, but if we are futurist, what is, okay, and sorry, if we are futurist, Zionism is establishing the nation again.
Of Israel.
Who is the religion of Jews right now? And are they even in Israel?
They are all over the world, and they're in Israel, and they support Israel. So just to make it, if
Okay.
you find an Orthodox Jew with the ringlets
That's the
in Antwerp,
religion.
that's the
Yeah.
religion. They send money to the state to
Okay.
increase Zionism and keep it strong.
Do religious Jews of this time, you said this already, I think, but they see a distinction between them and the nation of Jews.
They do, but they also see the nation as them because it's blood related and it's genealogically built. The nation and the religion are all both of those things. So it's not a clear cut division.
Do they identify that there are people that are not part of the religion, but they are Jewish
No,
still?
no. If you're a Jew, you're a Jew.
Okay.
You're just backslidden Jew. You're just
Okay.
not doing what you should.
So nation just refers to like they aren't keeping up with their religion.
Yeah, to a Jew. Yeah.
Okay.
But when a Gentile speaks of it and they speak disparagingly against the religion, it doesn't mean they're speaking disparagingly of people who are Jewish that aren't of the religion and weren't of the religion of that day. Okay? So even when I speak against Israel's back in that day, it doesn't mean I'm talking against an Orthodox Jewish person running a rabbi today.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I'm talking about them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
17 minutes
I'm much
in.
more of an anti-dentite.
Bryan Cranston.
There you go.
Is that his episode?
Yeah.
So, we're now into that section where the soldiers mock Jesus. We have about 3 minutes. They dress as him. They put a staff in his hand, crown of thorn, mock, hail the King of Jews.
So Pilate asked him, "Are you a king of the Jews?" He said, "I am." And so, okay, we'll treat you like one. A purple robe is one of royalty. They put a staff in his hand like a king. They put a crown of thorns on his head. And another one says they beat that down into his head so that it tore into his flesh. And the irony of that, or not the irony, but the connection of that is when Adam fell, God says, "I will curse the ground with thorns and thistles." The second Adam comes and he takes those thorns into his own flesh.
Wow.
So we have a connection to what happens there with, it's a pretty beautiful picture.
Yeah, this whole thing is,
Yeah, you got starting to be converted.
oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I mean, this is how the word helps you understand.
Yeah, the story of Jesus and his death does not capture the details of it.
No.
And the details are what are so gnarly.
I
Like,
know.
that he wasn't just killed, he was like straight up mocked and like,
Brutalized.
yeah. And they didn't do it to anyone else. They just kill people, right?
They say that they would do the same thing to different people. They would, but it is said that they scourged him more, and I don't know if that's just our need to have him suffer more physically than someone else. But like the scourging of the leather, they put in metal pieces of bone and rock, so when they hit you, it would strip the skin off. So against that cross was that bare stripped back. We're talking about incomprehensible pain, but others have experienced that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just picturesque for him, the thorns
Yeah.
and the fact that he says he's the king of the Jews.
Yeah.
Like they dress him up that way.
Yeah. And the stripping of the flesh is a spiritual thing, that we die to our flesh. He had it stripped off him literally. We don't live by it.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a painful process
Yeah.
to have your flesh removed from you.
Yeah, it is. Huh. Okay.
We done?
We should be for this one.
Part
Maybe
3.
1 or 2 more. See you soon.